Okay, so before I start this review, this monitor and the Huawei Mate View that I'm going to review tomorrow or the day after was sent to me by Huawei. It's a loan unit that I have to return, and they have no creative control over what I'm saying. All opinions are my own. They have no editorial control over the video, and they didn't send me anything else apart from these mooncakes, which honestly, they're pretty good. I should have eaten that. It's so sticky and dry. I need to let me swallow it first. This is the Huawei Mate View GT. It's Huawei's first foray into the world of ultra-wide gaming monitors, or gaming monitors in general. It's part of their two-product entry into the world of monitors, with the Mate View being a professional productivity monitor and the Mate View GT being a gaming monitor. It's 3440 by 1440, curved, ultra-wide, 165Hz, AMD FreeSync, and on the spec sheet it seems pretty impressive. Oh, and it's a 10-bit panel as well. And currently, because they just launched this product, there is a discount for this monitor. That is a $140 discount if you deposit $1 into Shopee, which I would argue is a pretty impressive discount. And we're going to be factoring that into the final conclusion where we decide whether it's going to be worth it or not, with and without the discount. So make sure you watch till the end, no skips. As always, we start off with the design. It looks really good because it's just a pretty simple, clean looking monitor. Grey, rather thin bezels, a single metal stand that looks pretty nice. It kind of has only one pillar in the middle, which might not inspire confidence visually, but it does look quite cool, and having tested it, it's quite rigid and quite secure, so no worries there. It does have a soundbar at the front as its kind of main eye-catching thing about its design, and this soundbar includes speakers as well as an RGB strip, which you can change the color of in the setting. The RGB strip also acts as a very convenient touch bar for adjusting the volume of the speakers, which we're going to talk about now. Now, the speakers are a pretty nice thing. They're a nice touch, and it's Huawei's move, I guess, and strategy to stand out a little bit more with this gaming monitor in a very saturated game. And the speakers are surprisingly good. They are definitely advantaged by the fact that they're not back-facing and they're facing you. They're not particularly phenomenal, and if you're someone who's an audiophile and uses speakers often, I still recommend you invest in a proper pair of speakers. But if you're someone who doesn't care too much about sound quality and just cares that your speakers get reasonably loud and have decent quality when you get pretty high volumes, it actually could work. And for me, who uses headphones way more than I ever use my speakers, it's something that I definitely could make do with in my day-to-day use. So that's good to see. Inside the speakers, you also find two microphones. And these two microphones are for basically you to record, stream, and basically talk on Discord and Skype. It's a quick sound test.
30 cm. It's about the same position that you would sit normally in front of your display. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Donda is better than CLB. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe because there is a giveaway when I hit 10k subs, and if you subscribe before I hit 10k subs, that will be, you basically get a better chance of winning than if you subscribe after I hit 10k subs. So subscribe, follow me on Instagram, join my Discord, and test, 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 1, 2, 3.
I personally think it's not good enough to say create content or do actual streaming, but for Discord chats or Skype chats or in-game communications or just Zoom video calls, this is perfectly fine and perfectly usable. The build quality of this display is pretty nice. The stand is metal and it does go up and down, which is nice to see. And the stand is built pretty well. However, while everything is built pretty nicely, with the exception of the plastic behind the back, as with every single monitor out there, the stand does not have a swivel movement, which I think is kind of unfortunate. While it is a gaming monitor really only designed for one person, the fact that it doesn't have any sort of rotation or swivel left and right is a bit unfortunate, because then you can't swivel it to get it exactly in the right field of vision, you know, to get it exactly parallel to your face, and you can't exactly rotate it. So if your desk is a little bit slanted, you can't rotate it and compensate for the fact that maybe the monitor is a bit slanted, so you might have to stick bits of paper underneath it and prop it out on one side. Moving on, let's talk about setting up this display and basically messing with the settings. And that's where this monitor is both really good and not that great. So the settings are actually quite easy to use. We've got this joystick, a standard nipple control unit, as Linus Tech Tips likes to call it, and you can navigate a very well laid out and very simple and easy to use menu where you can change the colors, brightness, contrast, adjust all your different settings and stuff. However, when it comes to activating AMD FreeSync, it then becomes a convoluted mess. Now, I initially thought this monitor did not have AMD FreeSync, even though it said so in the review guide that they sent me, because well, it's not featured in the menus. I went and Googled and did a little bit of research, and turns out you have to follow this guide that's on Huawei's subreddit, and you basically have to press and hold the joystick in a certain direction when the menu is off and the screen is on, just for AMD FreeSync to appear as an option inside your on-screen menu. Perhaps this is to flout some laws about power saving, because there is an indication and a warning about, hey, if you turn on FreeSync, you're going to burn more power. Perhaps this is a way to flout certain power saving EU laws. But I would have liked it if it's clearer to know how to turn on FreeSync on a gaming monitor that I paid, well, if I were to buy it, that I paid a couple $100s off, because, well, FreeSync is a feature that basically anyone using this monitor would want to use. So why don't you just list it in the settings and just let me access it easily anyway, instead of hiding it behind a convoluted menu that, you know, it's annoying. Well, once you turn it on, thankfully, you turn on FreeSync, it stays on and it's not a concern, so it's a hassle that's only one time when you're setting up the monitor. But it is something that Huawei can improve on, that's for sure. But hey, at least it does have FreeSync. In terms of other features apart from FreeSync, we'll go back to gaming and display panel performance later. We'll talk about that later. It also has a very interesting feature which I think Huawei has called wireless share, which means that if you have a Huawei phone, which I do not, so I could not test this feature out, you can wirelessly stream your Huawei phone's screen onto your Huawei MateView or MateView GT display. I think that's a pretty interesting feature. It depends on who you are. I think most people who are watching my videos probably won't be buying a Huawei phone anytime soon because they still don't have Google on it natively. And I don't have a Huawei phone, so I couldn't test that feature out, but it's pretty interesting. Anyways though, you're probably not buying a MateView GT because it can connect to your phone wirelessly. You're probably buying it because, well, you're looking at a curved ultra-wide gaming monitor. So how does it perform as an ultra-wide monitor in both gaming and productivity? Let's start out with the specs. 3440 by 1440p, very nice resolution, pretty standard. 165Hz, so it's good for gaming and slightly better than the 144Hz competition. Got AMD FreeSync, as I've said before, which is nice. And it does have, I think, a contrast ratio of 4000 to 1. It's a VA panel, but it's not like a VA panel of old. It's actually a pretty impressive VA panel. More on that in a bit. And it does have viewing angles of 178 degrees, which compared to, say, the super solid displays XG340R Ultimate or the X340 Pro from Prism or the Huawei, or the Xiaomi 144Hz curved ultra-wide, those have a viewing angle of about 148 degrees if I remember correctly, or 152. This has 178, so it's basically as good as any IPS display, which is really, really nice. The display's got a matte finish, and most importantly, I think out of all the specs for a color nerd like me, this display has 10-bit color! Yes. Now, if you don't know why 10-bit color is a thing that I care so much about, well, you're clearly someone who doesn't understand digital color too well, and let me explain it to you. 10-bit color compared to your average 8-bit color that you find on your average display, it's a billion colors versus 16.9 million colors. So you're gonna see a lot more color detail when you have a 10-bit display versus an 8-bit display. This might not be too noticeable in your average movie, TV shows and stuff, and like your average content creation and absorption, but for someone who does color grading all the time, for someone who really cares about how good my colors look, 10-bit is an awesome feature to have. It's A+2-bit FRC, but still 10-bit is 10-bit. I will take it. Speaking of color, it also does 90% of the DCI-P3 color space and 120% of sRGB. And Huawei says that it's pretty color accurate with a delta E of less than 2, which if you don't know, it means that it's pretty accurate and pretty good and actually can be used for mid-level color grading, which it can be. Testing it with my colorimeter, it does pretty well. It goes up to 350 nits, so no HDR 400 here, but HDR 400 is pointless and useless anyway. So yeah, its color is really darn good. And as someone who loves color, as a color grader, I can actually say that if you are someone who wants a gaming monitor that can do pretty well for color grading, this is a display that is honestly not that bad. And for a VA panel, its viewing angles and its saturation is quite impressive. Like, it feels like an IPS display, and I think that is a very high praise for any VA display, especially with those very nice contrast, very nice viewing angles. So good job with the color quality of this display here. So for productivity purposes, the ultra wide definitely helps for fitting more things on your screen, and if you're doing color grading or color sensitive work, you'll definitely be in for a treat because you can game and color grade on the same screen, which is nice. Okay, moving on, let's talk about this monitor for gaming then, and that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. So this is a 165Hz AMD FreeSync display. It's, however, only got a response time of 4 milliseconds and clearer. However, I did find that when you turn on Pixel Overdrive to 5 out of 5 in terms of its intensity, the artifacting and kind of mushy ghosting did kind of get bad, so I would recommend you leave Pixel Overdrive to just 3 out of 5, which is its default setting anyway. 165Hz is definitely nice to have, and AMD FreeSync is definitely nice to prevent tearing. It does make for a very good gaming experience. The curved ultra-wide nature, I've talked about this before, it's immersive, it's enjoyable, and with its curvature of 1500R, it looks really good. This plus the fact that it's got really, really good color makes for a very immersive experience when it comes to a game. So if you're playing single player titles or titles where it's not about fast-paced, sweaty, competitive action like, I don't know, Star Citizen, or you know, you're playing a game like Cyberpunk, or you're playing a game like The Witcher, you're gonna be in for a treat because, well, it looks good, it feels good, and it's pretty high refresh rate, and it's got FreeSync, and the response time is pretty okay. However, when you use a slow-mo camera and you get really intricate about it, it does fall flat. So if you're someone who plays CSGO or Valorant, you'll notice that there is a little bit more motion blur than a faster display that's 240Hz or 280Hz or TN, or with really good MPRT or really good motion blur reduction technology, because the pixel overdrive on this is not the best. And if you are a sweaty gaming guy, you're probably not buying a curved ultrawide monitor anyway. For me, I think this is a great monitor for gaming if you're playing the games that this kind of monitor is good for, which is this immersive games, or you know, RTS games, slower paced titles where you're trying to immerse yourself into the detail of the world rather than trying to get as many FPS as you can blast it into your eyes so that you can get a competitive advantage. So if you're playing Cyberpunk or single player titles, or you're just trying to have an immersive experience in Battlefield 2042 when that comes out, I would see this display being properly impressive. But if you're playing CSGO and Valorant, as I recommended with the XG340R Ultimate in the past, don't buy this, which I think you guys already know. You guys are a smart audience, you guys know that this kind of display, it's for immersion, not for competitiveness. So there's that. In conclusion then, the Huawei MateView GT, should you buy this? Well, I think for $800, its default price, it's definitely a good monitor that you want to keep an eye on and definitely check out. It's got good color, so it's great for both gaming and color grading. It's got good viewing angles, it's feature rich, it has a speaker, it's got mics, it's got a pretty nice stand. It's a really good monitor at its default price, and it's definitely something that you want to check out, keep on your watch list when you are deciding what curved ultrawide gaming monitor to buy. And at its discounted price of 660 Singapore dollars, if you buy it through Shopee on the 99 sales, it is an insane deal. So to those people who are watching this video today, or tomorrow, or the day after that, basically before 9th of September, at its discount price of $660 on Shopee, I would give it my wholehearted recommendation if you already have been shopping for a curved ultrawide display. I'm not asking you to buy it if you don't need it or don't want it, but if you're someone who's been shopping for a curved ultrawide display currently, I would say that at its discount price, it is one impressive MF, and it's definitely something that you want to get. But at its default price, it's still pretty good. Whether it's as conclusive, that's a different question. Either way though, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go back to eating my Huawei mooncakes and getting fat. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, this video was pretty hard to make. I hope you appreciate the effort that went into this, and I'll see you guys next time, which will be tomorrow. Adios, 再见, bye bye. 冰淇淋